My name is Glenn Hackney. I've lived in Fairbanks, Alaska for, roughly the last 50 years, and in Alaska since 1948. The Lincoln Gettysburg Address has always meant a great deal to me. I learned it when I was in high school, actually pre-high school, which I'm coming up on 90 in December, so that would make it a few years ago. It has always stuck with me, and probably giving it now from memory. I'll have a senior moment and miss a word or two, but that's okay. I've given this Gettysburg Address here in Fairbanks for probably the last 15 years at Lincoln Day dinners. And I've always tried to give a little pre-op on this, because this was a very special time for Lincoln. He had an election coming up, which he was far from sure that he was going to win, and he very badly needed a boost in the polls, if you will, although he wouldn't have put it that way. But I think of the responsibilities that were on that man. In 1962, there were 5 battles that took place, all of them in the South, but all of them really nasty affairs with heavy casualties on both sides. And of course, the southern side could ill afford those casualties over time. But the culmination of the thing, it seems to me, was the Battle of Gettysburg. It was a 3-day affair. It's been gone over so many times, or raked over, I was going to say. My wife and I visited Gettysburg, and it's an experience that every American should have. It absolutely sends prickles up and down your spine to think of what took place there. But here was Lincoln in November 1863. He was the second choice, if you will, as Speaker, and he was asked to give a few words. Mr. Everett gave 2 hours before Lincoln spoke, and then Lincoln spoke for about 3 minutes from notes. And what he said was, 87 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met upon a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here. It can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be here dedicated to the unfinished task that they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be dedicated here to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.